Trillions of dollars gone, not from a financial crisis, not from a war, but from shortage of something smaller than your fingernail. In the last 2 years, the biggest tech companies on our planet, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, Nvidia, have watched their market value crumble. And sitting at the center of all of it, a tiny piece of silicon called RAM. This is the story of how global component shortage is quietly reshaping the entire tech industry and why it's going to get worse from here before it gets better. First, let's understand what exactly we are talking about. A component shortage means that the world doesn't have enough of the physical building blocks that power our technology. We are talking about semiconductors, memory chips, GPUs, and most critically right now, RAM, random access memory. Every smartphone, every laptop, every data center, every AI model running in the cloud, they all need RAM, and simply there isn't enough of it. This isn't something new. The world got its first major wake up call during COVID when factories shut down, exposed just how fragile our global supply chain really was. Car manufacturers couldn't build cars, PlayStation 5s were impossible to find, graphics cards were selling for 3 times their retail price. But here's what most people missed: the crisis never fully went away, it evolved. Let's talk about money because this is where it gets personal for everyday consumers. When supply drops and demand stays the same or worse, rises, price goes up. That's economics 101. But the RAM market has its own brutal version of its rule. Memory chip production is dominated by just three companies: Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. That is it. Three companies supply the memory for virtually every device on earth. When one of these three companies face production issues or face a yield problem at their fab, the entire global market feels it. Between 2023 and 2025, DDR5 RAM prices, the kind used in modern PCs, servers, increased by around 40% in some segments. High bandwidth memory, the kind Nvidia needs for its AI chips, became so scarce that lead times stretched to over a year. And this ripple effect doesn't stop at RAM. When one component gets expensive, manufacturer cuts corners elsewhere, delay product launches, or pass the cost directly to you, the consumer. Your next laptop costs more. The cloud subscription goes up. The AI tool you use daily, it costs more to run than the creators ever planned for. And then came the AI arms race. It poured gasoline onto the fire. When ChatGPT launched in late 2022, every major tech company panicked. Microsoft poured billions into OpenAI, Google fast tracked Gemini, Amazon doubled down on AWS AI infrastructure. Meta built its own supercomputers. Suddenly, every company on earth needed more chips, more servers, more RAMs than they needed yesterday. Nvidia became the poster child of this frenzy. Its H1100 H200 GPUs, the engines powering AI training, require enormous amounts of high bandwidth memory, and the wait list to get them stretched so long that some startups were reportedly paying black market premiums just to access the compute. The result? Hundreds of billions of dollars flooded into hardware infrastructure. Data center construction hit record highs. The memory chip manufacturers, already struggling to scale, were overwhelmed with demand they couldn't meet. Microsoft alone announced 80 billion in AI infrastructure spending for 2025, Amazon over 100 billion, and the numbers are staggering. Most of the money is chasing supply chain that simply cannot keep up. Which brings us to the uncomfortable question everyone in the Silicon Valley is trying to avoid answering out loud. Is this an AI bubble? Here's the reality: big tech stocks have collaboratively lost trillions in market value over the past year, not because AI stopped being exciting, but because the investors started asking very simple questions. Where are the profits? Companies are spending hundreds of billions building AI infrastructure. The chips are expensive, the memory is scarce and overpriced, the costs of energy are enormous, and the revenue being generated from AI products, while growing, is nowhere near justifying the scale of investment. That's the classic anomaly of a bubble: massive spendings, massive hypes, profits that lag dangerously behind. The component shortage isn't just a supply chain problem anymore, it's becoming a fundamental stress test for the entire AI economy. So, what does the future look like? The honest answer is complicated. On one hand, there is relief coming. Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron are all aggressively expanding production capacity. TSMC, Taiwanese Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, is building new fabs in Arizona and Japan. The US CHIP Act and similar legislation in Europe are pumping government money into domestic semiconductor manufacturing for the first time in decades. In theory, by 2026-2027, supply should start catching up the demand. Prices for standard memory should stabilize and may even start dropping. But there is a catch. The demand curve isn't standing still either. AI models are getting bigger. Every new generation of GPUs require more and faster memory. The goalpost keeps moving ahead. The companies that survive this period will be the ones who either lock up in the supply chain contracts early, build vertically integrated chips operations like Apple, or found other ways to run leaner AI models that need less compute. Everyone else is exposed. We think of tech as software, invisible, weightless, infinitely scalable, but at this foundation of all its hardware, physical, limited, expensive, the global component shortage is a reminder that digital world has very real, very physical constraints. And until the world builds enough chips to match its ambitions, every AI dream, every cloud expansion, every device upgrade carries a price that someone has to pay. And if you are curious and want to know if Elon Musk has already won the AI space race, you can click the video here to learn more about it. Thank you for watching.